Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Bodacious Rant with Burn and Ryan. Hope everybody's having a lovely weekend. I was celebrating my buddy's baby shower because he's going to be a dad, so that's pretty cool. I would say that's the highlight of my weekend because, what we're going to talk about today was very... It was there. It was the newest film from DC, Warner Brothers, under Walter Hamada and that the HBO crew essentially, and that is Black Adam, starring The Rock, Pierce Brosnan, Aldous Hodge, and a slew of other people. And yeah, basically it takes place present day where this woman who's like a activist, a freedom fighter essentially, she brings back Black Adam to try and save Kahndaq from a new modern oppressors and stuff. And yeah, it was just... I'm at a loss for words. I'm going to say it was horrible. It was not good. I'm not a real fan of this. I'm probably in the minority. Burn maybe as well. We're going to hear his thoughts in just a hot minute. But yeah, it was just a ripoff of a bunch of other movies, and it felt very just uninspired, unfortunately. And I really do appreciate The Rock. He was solid in this role. I just think the direction of it was bad, unfortunately. The writing wasn't great. And I think had it been under a better director, maybe even under Snyder, in all honesty, Restore the Snyderverse is still going on for me. I think it would have been a lot better. But anyways, Bern, what did you think of this movie before I just completely keep shredding this movie apart?
Well, I mean, look, this movie's been like a long time coming, like 15 years in the making. Actually, like 15 years ago was when The Rock was announced to be attached to, some form of a Black Adam project. So, this was very much like a labor of love from him. He's been trying to get this off the ground for a while. But it's like, man, it's unfortunate when you hear things like that and then you see the end product and you're just like, wow, like that did not hit the mark, like, at all. Like, I don't know, like, at what point it went wrong, but I guess to jump off of your point, it seems like the direction in this movie was very weak. And the script, for this movie is very weak. I think that's probably the foundation of it. The script is very weak. It's derivative. Like you said, like it copies a lot from a lot of other superhero movies. This is like, when we walked out of the theater, I said that this was probably the most generic superhero movie I've seen. And I stand by that, because there are so many moments, even from like watching the trailers, before this movie even released, you can pick out certain like things, like shots or like moments that they chose to show that I'm like, I've seen that before in another superhero movie, and you have, like, that's the thing, like with this movie, you've seen this movie already. Like anybody who's a fan of the superhero genres, either the MCU or the DC movies, any of them really, you can pick one, and like there's a lot this movie like copies from that. And the thing about that is that, we've seen like a lot of these things in this movie done before, and we've seen it done better. Like, this movie doesn't bring anything sort of new to the table to sort of set itself apart. Like I mentioned, the script itself was very weak. And we, like superhero movies, like generally, their scripts are pretty, straightforward. There's not like too much there. That's not the case for all of them, obviously. There's some that stand out for being particularly well written. But this one, again, it was a very generic script. And unlike a movie like Aquaman, where that one also has a very generic and standard script, at least
that script sucked.
at least that movie had James Wan as a director, and he is an incredibly talented director. So he was able to elevate that movie beyond its very weak script, and the charismatic performance of Jason Momoa. I would put him and The Rock in that same sort of league of actor, just very charismatic, basically sort of play different versions of themselves for the most part, but like they're very entertaining to watch. But again, James Wan was able to elevate that generic script into an entertaining movie at the very least. This one, the director Jaume Collet Serra, he was not able to do that, unfortunately.
No, Bern, and you encapsulated everything. Beautiful. I think you should be a TED Talk person of movies, though, Burn. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, Burn really put into the best words that this is just, again, it was very uninspired, super generic, and I feel bad. And I kind of do feel bad for The Rock. I really want to know how much control did he have over this, because he was promoting the shit out of it, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, it makes me question it a little, like him a little bit. I'm like, maybe you're one of those guys that, as much as I love your energy and I do love you, Rock, as a person, probably, I don't really know him, but so far what I've seen, he seems like a decent guy. It's one of those things. I'm like, I just don't think you should have hands on creative wise if this is gonna be the end result. But that's if. I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying if. And yeah, I mean, it was a solid cast. Him as Black Adam, he looked great. I kind of wish they did go with the pointy ear elf thing, like in the classic stuff, but that's super nitpicky, not a big deal. Aldous Hodge as Hawkman, which was a very, very different version of this character. He was kind of cool in some points. I do like Aldous Hodge. He was another shredded dude, but even though his suit was kind of cool, it missed the mark as well. I don't want to, again, this is a non-spoiler review. I should have stated that earlier, guys. I apologize. So I'm not going to talk about it too much. The Justice Society didn't really need to be in it, or if they did, they could have been used less. Maybe that would have made me like them a little bit better. And I know that's kind of bad, but I'm like, for the story, it just, I don't know. They could have chopped off at least a half hour of this movie, and it would have felt a lot more just better. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Any other thoughts before I give my ranting, Burn, or am I cool to just give my rating and say your final piece? It's up to you.
Yeah, let me just jump off of your point real quick about the Justice Society, because that was one of the things, beside The Rock, being Black Adam. One of the things that I was most excited for, the Justice Society is one of the big teams of the DC universe. And with the actors that they got here, it was very interesting. And I was like, okay, like, we're gonna get them in a live action movie, which I didn't think we would ever get. I thought we would just maybe only get the Justice League and then like the Suicide Squad and maybe some other team. But Justice Society is such a deep cut for a lot of us, comic book fans, that I never thought that we would get them on the big screen. And again, like the actors involved here, they played their parts well. Aldous Hodge, for this version of Hawkman, I think he did a really good job. I think the clear standout is Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. He was the most like interesting character, and he had the most to work with, I think, out of the entire group. Now, as for the other two, Noah Centineo as Atom Smasher and Quintessa Swindell as Cyclone, they were just kind of there, like they seemed like they were like young members of the group. I guess they were there for like, lightheartedness, to bring in a younger crowd and to sort of like have some comedic relief, and yeah, they were just serviceable, at best. And no shade on their acting abilities. I don't think anything they did wrong. I would definitely like to see all these characters come back in another movie potentially, but again, just the way they were used here. Again, going back to the script, it felt like they were shoehorned in, like you mentioned. Like, it seems like they could have just been taken out of this, and it really wouldn't have affected the story too much. So that's unfortunate, because again, like, you're getting a movie introducing us to a hero that's kind of like not doing him a service, and then we're introducing this whole group of other characters and not doing them a service either. So yeah, just big big L's all around.
Yeah, and my last piece of why I'm going to give this ranting, is I think this movie would have benefited a lot from rated R. Not necessarily because of the violence, even though it tried to be violent, but I read some that it took like 3 or 4 hard edits to get it down to PG-13. I think it would have benefited from being rated R, not only for more violence, but also for more serious tone. I think they try to be serious, and maybe people weren't digging it as much, or maybe it was just too dark. But I think when it gets down to it, when you write about, like, Joker, for example, they make him a more humane, a slightly more empathetic character with Joaquin Phoenix. And I guess that can make sense from one point of view for the Joker, even though he's still a homicidal lunatic. Black Adam is a much more hardcore villain than he is an anti-hero, in my opinion. So I think that was, they just didn't know how to do it. And for that, I'm going to give this movie a 2 out of 5 because it just, had a couple action scenes. The end credit scene was the best part of the movie. I would literally just sleep through this movie just to get a good nap in, and also just wake up for that post credit scene. That's horrible to say, but I'm being honest with it. So I definitely don't recommend this in theaters. It is not worth it. Definitely wait for Netflix or HBO Max or when you can rent it for cheap. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I second your statement there about the post credit scene being the best part of the movie, and even then, like the post credit scene itself, like what it is, you've seen it before. People like we've had this version of a post credit scene in other movies done before, so even then, when that's like the best part, and it's still derivative of a lot of other things, again, it just goes to show how much problems the movie has. But yeah, the actors, they did a good job, I think, for the most part. There's one actor though that I will say I did not like him at all. I don't want to say too much because
I know who you're talking
that
about.
character's been sort of hidden in the marketing, and I think that's probably the best thing the marketing has ever done because the marketing for this movie hasn't been particularly good at all. But keeping him out of it, they basically they salvaged people going to actually watch this movie. So, I hate them for tricking me into it, but got to give credit to them for hiding the worst part of the movie in from the marketing. But yeah, other than him, the actors were pretty good. And then there were some like really fun action sequences. But when we're getting cool action sequences in a movie that doesn't hold my attention outside of it, we get things like the Transformers movies where it's just mindless, and like my brain is just shut off and I'm not engaged in these sequences at all, as cool as they are. So due to that, I am going to give this movie a 1 out of 5.
Damn, you lowered this lower than Morbius, which is
See,
very surprising, Bernie.
just to,
I'm not going to keep talking about this, Bernie. Don't bring it up. But
to
do it as Matt for everybody. Go ahead and do
my
it.
point, Morbius is bad in a very fun and entertaining way. This movie, I
No.
didn't have like fun at all. I was just bored. I'd rather laugh at a movie than just sit back and be like, "Ugh, when is this over?"
Yeah,
that's
that
just
was
my
bad.
defense.
I'm not going to defend Morbius at all. So I disagree with that. But I do agree with the other half where there were a couple moments in this movie I was like, is it over yet? Are we ending on this? I'm so confused. And like, let's get to the point. Rush. Like, start going through this. But guys, if you've seen it this weekend, what did you think of it? Are me and Bernie crazy? Are we right? Do you agree with us? Or are we just a bunch of fuckers that just don't like movies that you guys like? Either way, totally fine. More power to you. But let us know in the comments, guys. Keep this going. House of Dragon is finishing up this weekend, so stay tuned for that. And also hop on it if you haven't already, because it's such a great show. And man, we got more Andor coming. Other than that, I really can't think of anything else off the top of my head. We're going to be a bit of a slow part right now, but again, we still got some more stuff coming at you. I don't want to get into it right now. So guys, as always, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for the both of us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.